Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tether webinar. Hope you're having a good day. We're going to give everyone just a few more minutes to finish getting logged in, and then we'll get started. So just hang tight. Thanks. Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, welcome to the Tether and BCU webinar. I hope everyone's having a good morning. I will wanted to make just a few introductions and before we get started, and then we can take it from there. So we're excited today and honored, frankly, to be joined by Tether customer Tyler Dowd, who is the Director of Call Center Enterprise with BCU. BCU has been around since 1981. They're one of the nation's top 100 credit unions with $3 billion in assets and over 250,000 members. BCU provides their members a variety of product and service offerings, from banking and credit cards to loans and personalized financial well-being programs, and they use Tether in their contact center to listen and drive insights from their member phone calls, and we'll be talking a lot more about that today. Tyler is going to walk us through their contact center use case. Excuse me there. Going to walk us through their use case and some of what they found and improved upon with their use of Tether. So we're excited for that. Joining Tyler is Aaron Mickelson. Aaron is the Director of Customer Success at Tether. Aaron comes from the credit union space, having graduated from Western Kuna Management School, a credit union graduate program. And then Aaron ran a contact center for a large credit union contact center for about 14 years before joining Tether. And Aaron will walk us through a demo of Tether so you can see it in action. At the end, we'll round out the webinar with some question and answers. So if you have questions during the webinar, please enter them into the question area in the GoToWebinar interface, and we'll get to them at the end. So with that, before we get into the meat of the presentation, I wanted to just give everyone a bit on Tether for those of you who are unfamiliar with us and what we do. So first of all, Tether is addressing a huge organizational blind spot that many of you have, one that represents the largest yet darkest in many cases source of intelligence, your customer phone calls. Tether is an AI-powered conversation intelligence platform that unlocks many of the hidden insights that sit in your customer call data. Many of our customers are seeing really unprecedented and sustainable value from the insights that they're gaining from this customer call data. The product is built on a decade of customer research that analyzes phone calls and surfaces key insights that many of our customers have seen will improve their the excellence of their operations, the agility, their speed to be able to address issues as they arise. Tyler will cover some of that. and really the overall relevance of the contact center. So Aaron, if you could go to the next slide here. Here's how it works. It's a cloud-based platform that understands every word in your customer phone call, surfacing actionable intelligence to improve your business performance. So what we do is we plug into the recordings, into your voice network, into your voice recording network, and begin to transcribe and analyze your phone calls. We create a full searchable archive of all of your phone calls, sentence by sentence. You can easily search and play back and filter any sentence of any conversation and look for key insights. A key piece of Tethr that makes us different, we've, as I mentioned, trained the engine, the AI, to think like researchers. A lot of the initial training of Tethr's AI engine was based on research from institutions like CEB, now part of Gartner. And this enables us to look for key insights on customer experience as it relates to conversion, churn, call volume reductions, etc. So one of the nice things about Tethr is it's fully open and can plug in, and you can share a lot of the insights from your phone calls with your CRM or business intelligence tools downstream. And again, we'll be talking more and more about that as we move forward. So go to the next slide, Aaron. By doing all of this, many of our customers are really starting to turn their contact centers into insight centers, really across the organization. With many of the insights that they see from Tethr, they are helping, really improving their organization across a number of different areas. On the customer care side, Tyler's going to focus on this in particular, but looking to solve customer issues faster, better train their agents, decrease call volumes, all resulting in happier, more loyal customers. On the product side, really getting better knowledge as to what can kill customer loyalty and cause churn, insights that can drive real product innovation from what customers are actually telling you. The sales and marketing side, looking for revenue generating insights, what drives sales conversion, what drives upsell, cross-sell, and can improve your share of wallet while maintaining customer loyalty and avoiding disloyalty. And then certainly on the compliance side of your business, looking for insights that can enable you to proactively manage risk by illuminating some of the blind spots you might have in your organization that are happening in your phone calls. So at a very high level, that's what Tethr is about, and what we do. Would love now to turn it over to Tyler to talk a bit about BCU, and after that we'll get into a demo and some Q&A. So Tyler.
Yes, good morning everyone. Few repeat items. Again, my name is Tyler Dowd. I am the director for the call center enterprise here at BCU. I've been in my role, just for background's sake, going on 5 years, all within the call center at Baxter Credit Union. And then prior to that, I was at Target Corporation in Minneapolis, and many different roles within their call center before. So first want to start with appreciation for the invitation from Dean and Aaron to speak on the BCU and Tethr partnership. I'm excited to tell the story today with the audience. Certainly will do my best to share as much detail as you might read around the case study with BCU. And then with that relevant information, if you have questions, as Dean shared, happy to answer them after the demo. Again, some repeat here, Dean spoke to it. Some background on BCU, started in 1981 from the desire of Baxter Healthcare employees. They were looking for a better competitive financial wellness institution, and so that's how we got started. Top 100 credit union today, $3 billion in assets, 250,000 membership and growing. We are a SAG-based credit union, and so we focus on key corporate relationships. Today, some of our key relationships, United Healthcare, Target, Baxter Scientific, to name a few. In terms of how myself and partners at Tethr got connected, we share a mutual interest with the CEB Customer Contact Leadership Group. And so back in January of 2017, we initiated our conversations, and frankly, I've enjoyed the partnership since. So, Aaron, moving forward. So back in 2017, early 2017, as we engaged, one of the key things to get started was we wanted to really define our partnership from the beginning. And so instead of getting into the meats and potatoes about results and what we were missing, we started the conversation with what are the North Stars for BCU, and then where could Tethr help us drive them daily, monthly, yearly as we move forward. And so we defined those North Stars here at BCU, first and foremost, the voice of the member. That's critical to us as a credit union. The second is being our laser focus on 95% of transactions being self-service. As we scale, we see that as a critical North Star. As I mentioned before, we are a SEG-based business, and so we're aggressively partnering with organizations with a goal to grow as a credit union and membership by 20% year over year for the next 5 years. And so as we entered this conversation in 2017, we entered the conversation looking for a partner that would also help us scale and service excellence. And one of the things internally that we had some of our hands on here at BCU was Net Promoter Score and some of the information there. But I understood as the department head for the call center, we really had untapped insight with our members, with everyday conversations they were having with us. And so as we entered that conversation with Tethr, I was really interested to understand what they could do to untap it. High level, some of the things I'll share today within the case study from a speed to value perspective, we've quickly, in a real way, have now understand the member experience and the journeys that our members are having within the call center and even outside the call center, and I'll tell you about some of those results. We're now able, in a more clear way, our ability to measure service competencies in the front line. As we have large BCU initiatives, we can now measure the impact of those initiatives on our membership as our members speak to us within this channel. Tethr and the insights that we've gathered since the beginning is now a key contributor to our BCU steering committee. What that really means is capital investments, and specifically investments within our service channels. And so I'm excited to share a little bit about that as well. And then game changer for us was shifting the conversation from AHT and more bias-based dialogue from supervisor to agent to really full frontline transparency there. So to see the initial value with Tethr, we took Tethr's offer to try them out. And so, Aaron, if you move to the next slide. Early 2017, we did an evaluation with Tethr. In that evaluation, we identified 3 main objectives, and frankly, we wanted to understand could Tethr meet those objectives for us. We measured 2,000 calls that were processed, so about 10,000 minutes. And then Tethr came on site and did a readout to our senior management team. And so on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the evaluation process and some of those results. And so through that evaluation, we had insight that we didn't have before. So now we clearly understood what our call drivers were. Historically, we might look at case management or workflow data. We might look at any sort of self-driven marketing data, but now we're starting to untap those conversations in the call center. And so, members are telling us this is why we're calling, and so now we understood that. We are also able to now quantify front-end member education. As I mentioned before, one of our North Stars being 95% self-service, and so prior to Tethr, we weren't able to do that. Through this initial engagement, we also, as I mentioned before, started to identify really what the journeys were with our membership. And then one of our early appetites was to truly automate the QA process for the call center. So with those initial results, through the evaluation, we started our engagement mid-year 2017.
1 second. Sorry.
Yep, no worries. So Aaron, if you can go to the slide that shows time to value.
Yeah, I'm relaunching the PowerPoint. Sorry, PowerPoint crashed.
As that comes up, I'll talk a little bit about, okay, moving away from our initial evaluation and what we found. The first question for me, though I was excited to really understand what else we can do and what results we can get a return on. The first thing I wanted to understand was the impact to my staff. And so, namely on their time, and then beyond that, the value that was coming back to BCU with the platform. And so the first thing we did was we used an existing FTE as an administrator. One of our key kind of North Stars as we implemented the partnership and platform was that we didn't want to add FTE to support the platform. And so we were able to use existing staff. Tethr has been a great partner from the beginning in terms of building the administrative side with us as well as dashboards. And so you can see on the left-hand side, the time spent for us in terms of analyzing member sentiments, agent behavior, so on and so forth, has dropped. And you can see that in pure minutes through our initial engagement, we're starting to skyrocket. On the right-hand side, that's just showing that with the number of agents I had, measuring 4 calls prior in a very manual, traditional QA process, in the background, you can see where Tethr has brought us. And so understanding the context delivery here, again, I'll get into this with more of the results around the case, but understanding service behaviors, operational opportunities, gaps, different initiatives that we're getting through our steering committee, and then it really kind of birthed a different lens for us with our marketing team. To date, we've processed a little over 220,000 calls, building out 278 categories, and then hundreds of reports, giving us different lenses. Moving forward, the first business case that I wanted to share with the group was around service to self-service. As I mentioned before, the 95% self-service transaction being the North Star. We wanted to understand where was the call center contributing to this North Star, and so we set a goal of 51% by year end. That on the front end would be our educational rate. Tactically, what we do, we first needed to understand the top reasons for the calls in which members could actually just self-serve. We already had the functionality, but for some reason, people were peeling off of our website or mobile application and coming to us. And then from there, we studied our top frontline agents and their behaviors around self-service education, and then took those behaviors, shared those with a larger team. And so you can see from our initial engagement, our initial measurement in May of 17, our educational rate for self-service was 27%. As we got to March of this year, we've jumped to 40%. That's a 13% lift, barely getting into our partnership. And so we're really, really excited, at least again, to quantify in the front end our ability to educate our members on self-service. To date, we're over 50%, so we're beating our July projection. As we move forward, the next North Star that I shared was voice of the member. And so, again, we're a Net Promoter shop, but through Net Promoter, we wanted to understand, the high-level problems and topics, and then with Tethr, we wanted to understand in detail from the member what that meant. And so we can get that from both systems. Specifically, in terms of percent negative feedback, we wanted to first quantify that, and then second, set a goal. And so you could see we teetered really between 3 and 7% historically early this year. Again, tactically, we need to understand what were the top reasons for dissatisfaction with BCU and our service. And then once we understood one of our core reason was for dissatisfaction. Our members were upset that there were small adjustments that we could make, or accommodations from a service recovery we could make, but we weren't empowering our front line. And so here in the last 90 days, we empowered our front line where each and every agent can address the issue from a dollar value up to $25. And so that's been beneficial for us because we're now starting to see that percentage of negative feedback going down. So we're just shy of 4% today from nearly 6 to 7% earlier this year. And so again, game changer for us to really understand, quantify negative sentiment, use top reasons and behaviors and decisions to drive that number down. Moving forward, another North Star for us, again, service excellence. And so Tethr has helped us identify and develop our agent service skills and behaviors. We're now using Tethr from an automated QA perspective as we look at call management, proactive guidance, self-service, member recognition, check for resolution, just as samples. Again, tactically, first we needed to report on these. What was kind of our benchmark? Where were we started? And then from there, being a fellow CEB partner, we're big on the controller profile and the skill set. And so we identified our controller profiles at the agent level, and then we identified their behaviors and looked to mimic those behaviors across the team. And as we've done that, you can see vertical progression where we want to see it within our agent behaviors. So check for resolutions up from, 40, 50% into the 70s, for example. So again, excited that now we can automate the quantification of our agent behaviors, removing biases, and then mimicking where we're seeing really positive results across the team. As we move forward, one of the other pieces that I talked about was beyond service excellence, our membership growth and understanding the products and services that our members are looking for. And so with Tethr, we've been able to quantify what we call financial wellness education, leading to lead generation. And so today we're excited that Tethr has allowed us to take this initial step as we look at financial wellness around auto loans, credit cards, mortgages, and new checking shares. We haven't, we've set a goal with our mortgages team of 1%. But we're really discovering further in this area from a financial wellness to a lead generation perspective what the call center can do. And so I'm excited about this because this helps us shift away from being purely a cost center to what I would call a cost/revenue center. Moving forward, I mentioned before some behavioral areas where we're focused from a quality perspective. As I mentioned, we're a CEB partner, and so we're big believers in their competency-based QA program. And what that really means for us is that we're not solely focused on AHT or production. Our priority is agent skill development and retention of that staff, as we truly believe that drives sustainable service over time. And so areas where we're focused in our competency, these are our 4 key areas in terms of recap of the experience to the member, driving down our frontline behavior of encouraging a callback. As we know, members don't want to call us for a second time, they want FCR. We're also measuring next issue avoidance as well as proactive guidance. And so you can see from January of this year to March, where we've had these focuses, we've moved up vertically in recap, next issue avoidance, and proactive guidance, while driving down our encouraged callback behavior by 3%. So all great things that translate to higher production and, more importantly, better service. As I mentioned before, Tethr has become a nice little partner for us, well, a huge partner for us as we think about capital investments moving forward this year into 2020 and beyond for BCU. And so today we're using and leveraging Tethr's partnership, as you can see here, to really not only understand our top categories and the type of calls, but then to quantify them, use those quantifications to really understand percentage of our total interactions, and then work with our member experience team and many of our other internal partners to look at solutions. And so as of March of this year, we had, for example, one key BCU member first project in flight. Due to this intelligence and a recent steering committee decision, we've gone from 1 capital investment to 7. And so that was largely driven by the insight provided from Tethr. As we move forward, one of the real-time insights that Tethr has provided us today is what we're doing in larger initiatives. And so some of you may have seen our rebranding effort in March of this year. And in fact, the day we rebranded, we in the call center started getting phone calls around our login button and some of the concerns related to the rebranding. And so we saw that spike as we get this information within 15 minutes of the phone call. And so from understanding that spike real time, we partnered with our marketing and digital services team to create an interstitial as well as move the login. And so that to me just represents this isn't just leading or lagging indicators. It's also business decisions that we're making real time. And we wouldn't be able to do that without the insight that Tethr brought us. I mentioned moving from 1 key service capital investment to 7 this year. One of those investments was remapping and rebuilding our check hold process. And so we've been able to reduce our check hold requests by 38% in the call center. And that's been huge for us, which translates to 300 fewer check hold requests a week. For those in the call centers, that's nearly an FTE's worth of production a month. We've seen 22% reduction in the calls as well from a release request perspective, and we're also additionally funding immediately $250 on checks today. Moving forward, from a engagement and adoption timeline, we worked internally to understand what would it mean to launch Tethr across our many business partners, and so we defined a plan in partnership with Aaron and his team. We found that plan to be very effective, and so on the right-hand side you can see where we are today. We're focused on deploying Tethr and its benefits to several different business groups within the organization, namely operational groups, our member experience team, our collections, loan servicing teams, and our member intelligence, business intelligence groups. I mentioned before the top 10 Tethr mentions helping us with our IS and capital investments. And then as we see success further in deploying Tethr within these initial tier 1 partners, we'll look to drive that further in expansion later this year and into 2019. As we look forward, some of the top 5 ROI areas that we want to continue to focus on: self-service engagement, reducing our handle times, continue to reduce the encouraged callback rate or any repeat caller scenarios, obviously reduce our member pain points, and then from a revenue generation, as I mentioned before, continue to focus on financial wellness for our membership, continue to drive our member experience as we know it's a priority, as well as continue to drive up member retention. Success measures, I won't go through them all, but we look at it from an insights, coaching, and engagement, and goal and results priority. For example, I'll pick events. What can we do to really kind of coach and engage from a disruption standpoint, and then that resulting into more productivity. Another one may be understanding higher cost transactions where they may be lengthier. What type of behaviors are we seeing from our top reps that are driving down those same type of call types with those behaviors, ultimately reducing AHT and increasing our productivity. From a future opportunities perspective, as I mentioned before, we're continuing the roadmap into extended and additional partners within BCU. We're going to be looking to export and deploy Tethr data into our MI and data warehouse so that we can look at decisioning beyond the call center and some of these other business groups when we think about marketing campaigns and engagement, so on and so forth. And then as I mentioned before, as we have this success, where can we continue to deploy and leverage Tethr beyond these initial partners? So with that, thank you for the time. Again, the invitation, Dean and Aaron. I hope for those in the audience, as I've gone through the business case, that you've seen the value of not just the platform, but the value of the partnership with Tethr.
Thanks, Tyler. So just to recap, Dean had introduced me at the beginning. My name is Aaron Mickelson. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Tethr. And I just want to say to begin with that the partnership with BCU has been a pleasure two ways for both us as much as for them. Just to give a little bit of a little more on my background. So 13 years I spent at a major credit union, all in the call center there. I used to be a customer of Tethr's before joining the team here. And so I'm going to be leading the demo today. So we're just going to go through a couple of different use cases. I'm going to walk you through kind of how we grab some of these insights, how we take all those phone calls that you have, transcribe them, turn them into a contextual, real valuable insights that we can then use to go ahead and move your business. So what you're seeing on the screen here, this is a sample dashboard. This is kind of the 30,000 foot level of Tethr. So this is after we've gone through the process of transcribing a call, turning it into insight, and putting it onto a dashboard, so then that way we can go through and make those business changes. So this is my my faux credit union demo dashboard here. You can see that we're grabbing different insights. Like in the top left corner, we can see that we're grabbing those top reasons members call. So, this is one of the first requests that we get from almost all of our customers, is to answer the simple question of why people are calling me. So in this instance, you can see we have a number of different reasons. We're not relying on disposition codes, or we're not relying on wrap-up codes. We're simply going through and grabbing the actual words from your members and your agents to be able to boil this data up and see why those calls are happening to begin with. Now, the important thing here is that, having reasons for call, that's important. But what do you do with that data once you have it, and how is that data valuable? So you can see that we're actually able to add additional contextual insights. For instance, recontact by reason. So these are the places where your members have called and they've said, hey, this is the second time I've had to call about this. Now you can go through and say, okay, we've got a breakdown in our service interaction here. Maybe our agents need some more training, maybe we need more guides. So it really adds that extra slice of data to be able to get down to the root cause analysis problem. Or right below it, channel switch by reason. So digital transformation is one of the big key drivers of almost every credit union out there. And so, we're investing quite a bit of money into our mobile channel, our web channel, our chat platforms. So these automated interactions, the average cost per call sits anywhere between $9 and $15, whereas the average cost per web interaction is, generally speaking, around 10 cents. So every time that one of your members starts on your website and then calls you and says, hey, I was trying to do this online, but I wasn't able to figure it out. Can you help me with it? You just cost yourself quite a bit of extra money. So now we can grab that contextual insight, bubble it up, feed that data back to our digital teams, back to our marketing teams, back to our development teams, and say, hey, here's the breakdown places that we have on our website. This is where we need to go, and we need to dive in a little bit deeper and fix it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to step down to the single call level. So if this is, we're sitting at the roof, we're sitting at the very top, let's go down to the foundation, which is just one call. So you can see that we have a call here. The gray section up here at the top, this is the actual audio stream. And we have this split speaker by speaker. So we've got the split agent and member, with the agent on one side, the member on the other. So then we can add an extra layer of context to our insights, being able to boil up who said what. Two people can say the same thing and mean they can have the completely different connotations. A phrase like speak to a supervisor, as said by an agent, is a cry for help. I need someone to help me. As said by one of your members is, I'm done talking to this agent. I want to talk to the next person. So now we can grab that because we have that split audio. You can see that we have a number of boxes and red dots here. So these are all different insights that we've bubbled up and we've contextualized from the actual phone call themselves. And where they actually happen within the course of that single phone call. So you can see right here at the beginning, the reason for call, not sufficient funds. We grabbed that straight from the audio. Down here, this is the actual transcript of the audio that we've broken up into speaker by speaker utterances. It reads a lot like a play manuscript. I said this, you said that, I said this, you said that. And then we can grab those actual words and we can make those categories and those context pieces straight out of the voice of your member or the voice of your agent. So that reason, not sufficient funds, that came straight from the member where they said there's not sufficient funds. In yesterday's world, you may have had wrap-up codes, you may have had disposition codes. Heck, we may have handed out little pieces of paper with checkbox marks where you have your agents put little ticky marks into it. I know I've done that in the past to be able to grab those reasons for people calling. But that data is flawed by nature because it's human-driven data. Someone might have not picked the right one, or they might have had 4 different things that happen on a call, and they were trying to pick the reason, the most valuable reason. Whereas with a tool like Tethr, we can actually grab every single reason for a call. So you see that they called about not sufficient funds. They also mentioned a credit card. They wanted to check their account information, get a balance inquiry. We've talked about a debit card. Lots of different things happen in the course of these phone calls, these breadcrumbs that your members are leaving for you to be able to improve the experience, grab a greater share of their wallet. All of that information we can grab out of these phone calls and boil up to be able to, add that real business value. So stepping down through the call here, you can see that there's a section here that's kind of hash marked out. It says transcript and audio have been removed due to sensitive information. So for the reason for this is because in this instance, when the agent asked that member, can I have your account number or your card number, the member handed over their card number. Now Tethr is full high trust, PCI, HIPAA certified. So because of that PCI certification, our machine learning platform automatically redacted this call transcript to fully remove all of that PCI sensitive data from both the audio file and the transcript itself. So that data no longer exists in our platform, ensuring that you are fully compliant with all of the regulations out there. Stepping down here a little bit more, so you can see that we have these different pieces. These are those contextual pieces that we've grabbed and we've built. So in this instance, we've trained the machine that whenever someone says there's not sufficient funds, it means not sufficient. And we train the machine across the multiple different permutations of how someone can say that phrase. But you see one down here that says effort acknowledgement. So Tethr has worked with CEB, who is now Gartner, to take a decade's worth of their research into the effortless experience and bake that all into the platform, into what we call library categories. So whereas we'll work with your team to create categories that are specific for your business, and we also have a whole slew of categories that sit in libraries that are ready tuned, ready made to get put into your business from day one. These categories have been vetted across millions of phone calls. They tend to be things that it doesn't matter what the industry is, people will exhibit the same sort of phrasing no matter what it is. As an example, frustration. I'm not going to exhibit my frustration differently just because I'm speaking with BCU versus if I'm speaking with another financial institution. So those are already set. Those are in your environment from day one. We've actually signed a contract on a Friday, ingested calls that weekend, and on Monday we're giving them insights into their business that they were not even aware of. Sitting in the middle of a training class on a first Monday morning, I've had a customer actually stand up, go walk out and coach some agents and come right back in. And we were able to see the results that afternoon after we ingested some more calls. There's a couple features inside of this single phone call that I want to show that are some of my favorite pieces personally. So coaching is a big aspect of what I do and what I actually am passionate about. So it's one thing to have all the insights and have them all given to you, but until you actually go train your agents to do different behaviors or give those insights off to a marketing department to do a different marketing campaign or a digital team to go change something on your website, it's just data for data's sake. So in this instance, you know, I'm going to focus on agent training. In this single phone call, we have a feature here that I really love to utilize. We call it notes and comments. So in this instance, you see this agent, they used one of our effort categories, acknowledgement. You know, all the research shows that when someone calls about a problem, really they just want, first off, someone to validate that they have a problem, acknowledge my problem, tell me I'm right, tell me I'm not crazy, and help me be my advocate to walk me through it. So in this instance, you see this agent step straight into acknowledgement. Sorry about that inconvenience. May I have your name? So I'm going to utilize our notes and comments feature here. So notes and comments are essentially the same thing. Notes are private. They're only for you, the user. Comments are public. Anyone who's a named user in the system can see them. So the really big use on that is, you know, if this is something that I want to give praise to this agent for, I'm going to use a comment because I'm not afraid of other people seeing it. If this is a behavior that I want to correct with my agent, I'm going to probably use it as a note so that I can access it later in that coaching session, but the whole world doesn't need to see it. So right now I'm going to use a comment. I'm going to say, you know, great usage of phrasing. I'm going to click save. And now that comment has been tagged to that actual moment in time within that single phone call. If I was going to be coaching this agent and we wanted to hear it straight from that point, because we've broken this audio into speaker by speaker utterances, I can actually hit play straight from that moment in time in that call. And no longer do I have to pull up a 25-minute call, fast forward to 11 minutes and 17 seconds just to be able to play that point in time that I want that agent to hear. Now I can hit play straight from there. And I have that comment of human-driven insight tagged onto the actual transcript. So now when I go to coach my agent and they say, well, can you give me an example? My answer instead of yesterday was, no, not really, just change it. Today, my answer is, yes, actually I do. Let's go look at it. So that's comments. One of the really neat features of comments is that you can actually reply to comments. So let's say I'm the call center supervisor. I put in great usage of phrasing. And now I'm the call center manager. I'm Tyler. And I want to say, I second that. Great job. I click save and that's tagged in. Now I've got a conversation going now with social. The last piece of information I want to show on a single phone call is the ability to label calls. So labeling is really taking single calls and grouping them together. So if you have a new hire training class and you like to play call examples off for your new hires of, hey, here's an example of the behavior we want to see you do. Here's an example of how to diffuse a situation or how to acknowledge a problem. We can actually bundle calls into labels. So in this instance, I'm going to add a label onto this one that I'm going to call new hire training exceptional calls. Because I want to be able to pull this up later in my new hire training class and show them this exceptional usage of acknowledgement to turn a high effort situation into a low effort situation. If I come up here to the label section, I can see all of the labels that we have in the system. So in this instance, here's my private labels, this new hire training exceptional call. I have a bundle of different phone calls all built inside of that. So now when I step into my new hire training class, I can just click on that call. I can go straight down to that moment in time. I can come right to where I've got my comment. I can view that in my transcript and go step straight down to it. So that's a single phone call. But what do we do with phone calls, and what do we do with the information that we have in the phone calls? So that's really where we come into what I call the heart and soul of Tethr, which is search and browse. So if single phone calls are the foundation of the house, search and browse is really the house itself. So this is where we can come in and we can go through and look at all those contextual pieces. So Tyler had a great example. It's one of my favorite of his use cases, and where we saw really good uplift in results. And that was, proactive service. So your members calling you about something that they could do online. There's something that they could do for 10 cents, and instead they're charging you $9 to talk about it. So what we want to do is we want to train our agents to be able to proactively guide those members to, hey, are you aware that this is something you can do online? So what we can do is we can actually take those categories. So we have all those reasons for call that we grabbed at the beginning, and we can bundle them together into what we call category groups. So in this demo environment, I have a group here of reasons for people calling with the potential to do online. So I can actually add this group in, and I can filter my calls straight down to just those calls where my agents had an opportunity to proactively educate and guide our members to being able to go online. And the next time you call about a balance inquiry, how about you just go check the mobile app? Not using those phrasing, using much more member service centric phrasing, but that's the gist of it. So these are the 583 calls you can see here in our environment where a member called about a reason for something they could do online. Now, great. We had 583. What does that mean to me? Well, specifically, what I want to do is I'm going to add another category on here that we've created where we have trained the system to look for all the places where an agent has actually given that proactive guidance. So those are phrases like, are you aware this is something you can do online? Do you have a login to online banking? Have you downloaded our mobile app? Et cetera, et cetera. And we would work with your teams in order to grab those key phrases that are those leading indicators that an agent actually is exhibiting that behavior that we want, which is proactively guiding. So now what I've done is I've filtered my calls down to those with the potential to do something online. And at the same point in time, my agent proactively guided them to do this online. And you can see I'm now down to the 58 calls of 583 where my agents actually did that behavior that I want. But even more important than that is not necessarily, I may want to see, okay, great, here's all the places we've done it properly, but where are all the places where we haven't done it properly? And so all you have to do is flip this category to an exclude. And now what I've specifically told the platform I want to see is I want to see all those calls where someone called about something they could do online, and my agent did not actually give them that proactive guidance to do it online. I can look at this at the agent level. That way I can see, who are my kind of problem children? Where do I need to focus more of my coaching resources? We all know that time is one of the biggest things that we always want more of in call centers and we never have enough of. So shrink is a big deal. We want to make sure that we're targeting that time, that training time most effectively because of the limited nature of it. And so Tethr actually can help guide that conversation and help guide you to that micro level of coaching and training where you're down to the exact points where you need to actually train each of your agents. You may have 50 agents. I can guarantee all 50 agents don't have the same thing that they need to be coached and trained on. Each one is going to be individual. Each one's going to have strengths and weaknesses that we leverage against each other. And so with the power of Tethr is that we can actually go through and create a customized coaching and training program for each of those agents. So this is a search. So what I've done is I've created this report. I want to actually save this. So I can save that as a report, and I'm going to call this proactive demo. Demo. I click save, and now I've saved that as a report. As easy as that. If I wanted to be able to access that report in the future, I'm going back to my dashboard example. I can click the Add to Dashboard button. I can pick from any of my existing dashboards, or if I want to create a new one, I can create a new one. In this instance, I'm going to pick my AA test dashboard. I click Save. And now when I go to my dashboards pane, you can see here's my AA test dashboard. And I now have that saved as a piece of insight that I can access at any given time later in the future. With a single click of a mouse, I can dive straight into those calls themselves. So it's stored there, and you can see it's just like how we had that more full bore dashboard. This is just the start of another one, as I may grab some different pieces of things that I want to see in my center on a daily basis. I can add them to this dashboard. Eventually, we end up with dashboards that look something like this. So this is a sample agent dashboard that a supervisor may use in order to coach that agent. Going back to my example of we've got 50 agents, and all 50 agents have got different strengths and weaknesses. We want to work with them on individualized coaching and training plans. So this is a dashboard for agent Lisa Williams here. Lisa's supervisor is Amy. And so Amy wants to be able to maintain this for her singular team member. So in this instance, Amy's training our effort metrics. She's training Lisa to turn that high effort call. So we've gone through and we've targeted all those places where members have called about things that are high effort. Members are frustrated. Members are uncertain about things. Members are confused about how the rates work on a certificate or how to do a wire. Those things that we need to be their advocates for. So we pulled all of our effort metrics in, and we're looking at Amy's team here in the top left. So that Amy in one shot can say, okay, here's my whole team, and here's how they all boil down as far as using low effort indicators to override high effort indicators. Now, how is Lisa performing against her team? So how is she looking next to her peer group? So no longer are we making decisions biased off of kind of like, I lick my finger and hold it in the air, but now I can actually compare her against her actual peer group. And even more than that, going beyond this single dashboard we're seeing right here, this one right here for Amy's team, if you're a call center manager and you want to see how effective are my coaches at coaching, this is a great view of this, because now I can see how effective is Amy at getting her team to move over time. Going back to the agent, so now I can take Lisa and I can say, I can sit Lisa down in her coaching session, pull this dashboard up and say, hey, Lisa, here's how you compare next to your peers. And that way it gives it that more of a customized approach. And Lisa has one single thing that we're working on. We're being very fine-tuned in our coaching. We're working with her on using positive language versus negative language in this instance. So those are using those phrases of I can versus those phrases of I can't, because we always want our members to see us as their advocate and have that trust in us that will lead them to the loyalty and the usage of our credit union. So that's dashboarding. That's kind of the demo in short. Let me pop this thing back up, and I think we're going to go over to some Q&A. Dean, I'll throw it back to you.
Great, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, if everyone, if you do have questions, please enter them into the question panel on the GoToWebinar interface, and I'll let some folks do that while I go through some of the questions that have already been asked, and let me throw these out to the team. It looks like the first one here for Tyler. Let's see. Rebecca asks, you clearly had your North Stars defined and had an idea of the benefits you were hoping to see from Tethr. What surprised you the most as you started listening to the calls?
Sure, really good question, by the way. I think some of the things that surprised me on the agent side, I'll share that, is I was surprised on the encouraged callback behavior, just from a quantity standpoint. I'm on the floor quite a bit, and to see that quantified, that was interesting. I was also surprised from our self-service education rate. We didn't have any historical data on that. So as we baseline that, it was interesting, a little surprising to see where we thought we were and where we truly were. And so on the behavioral side, I would highlight those two areas. I think some of the other surprising and probably very insightful, more from a member sentiment perspective, was around our operational gaps. And some of those things were kind of net new information to you and those that are consistently looking for that. So we were a little surprised by some of that.
Very cool. A question from Margie, probably for for you, Aaron, with all the data provided, is the storage capacity ever a concern?
No, storage capacity isn't a concern. Our platform is, I have a bit of an echo there, but our platform is fully cloud-based. So it sits up in Microsoft Azure's full PCI compliant cloud. So, storage is never a concern.
Yep. And then another one, Tyler, for you, Adam is asking about how prescriptive the insights were. Just really talking about, can you talk more about how you actually put some of the insights into action and kind of what that time frame looked like? I'm summarizing his question here, but that's looks like what he's asking.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take self-service education. That one's pretty straightforward. And so when we kicked this off, we kicked the platform off after the initial evaluation in about, I think it was July, August of last year. And so we used probably about the 90-day range to measure, quantify the insights of self-service and get our baseline. And then in terms of taking that data and really operationalizing it, we dug into, well, why was our baseline low? Where were the gaps? Where were the opportunities for where there were clearly self-service educational spots with our members that we could educate them on, and they were clearly missed. And so digging into the data and really having clear insight into that gave us really kind of the bullets in the gun, if you will, to go to the frontline staff and say, hey, this is where your strengths are, keep doing this. We're not a scripted shop either, and so we really encourage people to, drive the PMOs and KPIs and the behavioral skills, using really who they are in their own words. And so we reinforce the strengths that we saw in the data. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm a very, very transparent leader, and we drive that culture through the leadership team to the front line. And so one of the key elements I think that was helpful to really get us up to speed quickly is we gave the frontline access to the data. And instead of having, well, on a few phone calls, this is what's going on, we were able to kind of triangulate where those opportunities were by agent, and have them pull the data and see the same thing, and move the conversation again from it's my opinion to this is the experience you're providing, and here's some different techniques or examples to continue to drive that number up.
Excellent. But coming up to the top of the hour here, but it looks like time for maybe one more question. Tyler, again for you, more on the implementation side of things. Susan is asking, how much of the training and dashboarding was BCU able to take on directly versus Tethr? Really trying to get a sense of, how much of that you did versus Tethr did and do on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, so real quick on that, I would say objectively, we didn't want to add FTE to support a new platform, and we were able to do that. So I think that says a lot there. From the administration standpoint and really helping get the platform off the ground, there was a lot that came just really from flipping the switch on. There's great resources within the Tethr family that have provided us weekly working sessions as we think about different lenses and different data or different PMOs we want to look at and drive. So I'd say from a time allocation perspective in terms of setup, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being heavy, I'd probably say 2. And then in terms of kind of the intuitive use moving forward, it's pretty intuitive. I have some people that have access to the system. You don't have to be a data scientist or an engineer to use the system.
Awesome. Great. And then I think last question, Aaron, for you, a compliance question, actually. From a compliance point of view, Dave is asking, are the transcriptions stored encrypted?
Yes, everything sits encrypted in our full PCI compliant cloud solution.
Okay, folks, if you do have some more questions, we will answer those independently. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Special thanks to Tyler and to Aaron for sharing their point of view and their information with us. We will have a recording available that we will send to everyone of the webinar, so you'll have that for your files and for your notes. And again, if you'd like any additional information or would like to see a personalized demo of Tethr, please feel free to reach out. You can find us at info@tethr.com or, of course, the website at tethr.com. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.